Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We're thrilled to be joined by Jason Pickering and Jerome Fodor for this panel on non-traditional work schedules. I'm going to introduce Jason, who is General Manager at Mazda Toyota Manufacturing. And you partnered with TOOTRiS when you opened a new factory in Huntsville, Alabama, a couple of years ago. Can you just talk about what you were seeing on the ground at the time and how you decided to strategize a childcare solution?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that question. I think first of all, from a context standpoint, we're a joint venture between Mazda Corporation and Toyota Motor Corporation. I think it's important to understand, as we kind of came together, two parent companies, to create this joint venture, two assembly plants in one, two manufacturing lines. And we knew that we were going to have to hire 4,500 people in about a 2-year period. So the ramp up was pretty significant. We built the buildings in the middle of a pandemic, and then we tried to hire coming out of that pandemic in an area where the unemployment rate was around 2%. Right, so there's not a lot of available workforce there. How are we going to fill these modern manufacturing roles with the workforce that's not there? Well, the solution obviously was we need better workforce participation. And as we started to look and think about what were the barriers that were keeping people from the workforce, childcare came to the forefront. One of our parent companies, Toyota, likes to do on-site childcare, and so we looked at that. And first of all, we were trying to evaluate, can we build a building? What would that look like? And it wasn't really coming together. It wasn't working out for us. So we started to look at partnering with existing childcare facilities. Could we buy spots and reserve spots for our potential team members? And then the local Chamber of Commerce, the Huntsville-Madison Chamber of Commerce, came to us and said, hey, there's this company, TOOTRiS, that's looking to partner with some people, and we think that would be a great fit for you. And so we started to talk to them, and in about a year realized that this was the right solution. It provides the flexibility that our team members want and need. It allowed a number of people to kind of rejoin the workforce after COVID, and it enabled us to be able to add the workforce we needed to get both lines running.
So, Jerome, Huntsville, Alabama is a city of about 300,000 people. Suddenly a new factory comes to town with 4,000 workers. That's quite a big undertaking. How did you go about putting together a package?
Absolutely. So our whole premise is centered around the entire childcare ecosystem. So for us, that means licensed centers, licensed family childcare homes, after-school programs, familiar caregivers, everything in between, right? So there are currently 240 licensed programs in Madison County that operates on our platform today, supporting MTM's workforce along with their downstream suppliers. Those programs are separated over 35 different unique zip codes, which tells us that number one, an on-site isn't sufficient for the needs of the entire workforce. Mm-hmm. A lot of these folks travel 45 minutes, an hour to get to work. One of MTM's key initiatives was to spin up the second shift that runs till 3:45 in the morning. So imagine, right, you've got a couple children. Do you want to drive them 45 minutes to an on-site or something, right? You typically want something near, and our whole premise is really centered around that, which is childcare should be available, it should be affordable, but more importantly, right, we've gotten to a point where that's all we focus on, but it's a very subjective thing. It's a personal, one of the most, if not the most personal decision that a family makes, and people should be empowered to make the choice that is best for their family with the support economically, as well as just logistically and locating, securing, paying for childcare. So that's really what TOOTRiS is about. And just a quick shout out, Manish with Micron was up here a little bit earlier. He kind of talked about that as well. They have an on-site, but they're also incorporating the on-site into this same premise, right? So it doesn't have to be one particular thing. It can be all the entire options. And ultimately, that's led to the success that MTM has had, and that's very tangible, right? So their retention has increased, female participation has increased. So this is something that's been on the ground now for a few years. This isn't just an idea. This is something that's in practice, and so we're very proud of that, and proud of innovative organizations like MTM that have the same vision.
Well, it would be great to hear a little bit more about the business case for doing a partnership like that. Like, what has the impact been on retention? And
so when we launched with them in 2022 to 2023, that first year, kind of in in partnership, we saw an improvement in attrition by about 10% overall for the workforce. But if you looked at just the female workers in our workforce, it was about 20% improvement. So twice the retention in that same period. And we really think that it's because we build on our approach of kind of trust and loyalty with team members, and we're giving them an opportunity to continue to kind of fight through the challenges that life throws at you, right? And know that we have their back. We're kind of subsidizing, we are subsidizing, it's not free, right? But we're helping them be able to face the challenges that life throws at them. And you know, there's a great example, I've got tons of great examples, but one comes to mind of a young lady that came to work with us, a single mom, who had to face the decision of quitting or sending her daughter to her mom in Mississippi. That's an awful decision to have to make, right? But the fact that we partnered with TOOTRiS, they were able to help her find a solution that worked for her. We rotate shifts, so 1 month you're on day shift, the next month you're on night shift, and so they're able to help kind of make those connections for our team members. She was able to stay with us, with her daughter, living with her, and she's since been promoted and is now an advocate for team members with the management team. So there's tons of examples of that where this solution has really powered people to continue to drive forward. And I think if you look at our workforce is mostly under 30, they're about to start families, right? And so we want to make sure that they're able to stay with us. As they start to have children, they can, this benefit will grow with them, and they'll be able to have those same solutions.
Well, I'm sure that there are a lot of people in this room who are thinking about, you know, engaging in similar partnerships. What advice would you give to businesses who are contemplating taking the same path that you did?
I think the first thing is know what problem you're trying to solve, right? For us, it was how do we build strong relationships with our team members so that they understand that they're part of the solution as well, right? And this, when we started to partner with TOOTRiS, we started to realize that this gives them the benefit of flexibility, which is hard to come by in a manufacturing job. You can make the decision on where your child care comes from at the dinner table with your family. It's a huge, huge benefit, I think, versus you must go to this facility. Now, that said, I think there's a place for on-site childcare as well, because there's a capacity problem that we have in the industry across the country. So there's a capacity problem. We need to upskill that as well. But don't be afraid of unique and crazy ideas. Sometimes they work out, and I think this is a great example of that.
What about you, Jerome?
Agreed. Echo everything that Jason communicated. And I think, look, we know there's not enough supply. You need every possible option that's out there and available to an employer. I've heard a lot of communications about different strategies that folks here have been taking, which I applaud. No employer wants to be in the childcare business, right? So our kind of premise was really centered around removing all of the risk, all of the liability, all the concerns, not having to deal with construction, licensing, any of those things with on-site, not having to deal with contracting with individual programs, that's burdensome. And so just making that transparent to them. No different than how they offer healthcare benefits, right? So that same premise, and that's easier said than done. Childcare is very difficult. There are several 100,000 licensed childcare programs. They're wildly different, from big box centers to small family childcare homes to everything in between. How they operate, how they do business, how they transact, wildly different. And so really where our focus and attention is to ensure that we remove the friction from the provider supply side. So ensuring that every provider that's out there can participate in this. It doesn't cost them anything, it's easy to do. We operate based off of their specific terms. We send thousands of payments that are employer sponsored to them every single day to facilitate this and make it just seamless. And so ultimately, that's really the key, right? So it's one thing to say, hey, I want to unlock this, but what does it take to make it happen? It's hard, it takes a lot of work. But if you do that, ultimately you can deliver the kind of result and success that we've had here in Madison, Huntsville.
Well, we just have a couple of seconds left. Just to sum up, why would you say that employer involvement in childcare is important?
We've talked about it today, right? It's an infrastructure problem, right? It's not, we're talking about, this is a barrier that's keeping people from getting to work, right? If the road was destroyed and my team members couldn't get to work, we would fix the road. Childcare is broken and my team members can't get to work, let's fix childcare.
All right, well, Jason and Jerome, thank you so much. And thank you all for your attention.